Using keywords in your titles are killing your views, and here's why. Hello everybody, welcome back to VidStew, and in this episode I want to talk about keywords because I think there's a lag behind how the YouTube algorithm works in 2026 and how tools and creators, that give you advice are telling you how to use YouTube and so on. To put it bluntly, for the majority of YouTube creators, search keywords are now absolutely pointless in your titles, and you should only use them if you make sure you're using the browse first principles. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let me explain in a roundabout way because I have to explain some other stuff to get back to it. So for those of you who aren't aware and maybe are newer to YouTube or just maybe a business with 10,000 subscribers, but you have just been providing value and focusing on your business in your content rather than looking at the dashboard. And you are probably looking at how to get more leads into your business, or you're just looking at how to get more subscribers and views if you are a YouTuber. And most of the advice out there is from a lot of these YouTube creator channels that basically are from people who used to create for YouTube and then decided to teach instead. Some of them are great, but some of them are those people who are, if you can't do, teach people. And basically they're stuck in the old way of, saying that, you should put these keywords in, you optimize for search and that type of thing. And it's just completely useless in this day and age. In fact, even vidIQ, whose entire system at the moment is built on keyword checking and old SEO metrics, recently put out an article basically saying if you're prioritizing keywords, you're really not going to succeed in this new era of YouTube. So even a company whose entire business model basically relied on this is saying you shouldn't be doing this anymore. The point here is that you should be focusing your titles and your thumbnail all on browse and then working on keywords second. The reason I say that is if you go into your dashboard and have a look at your audience, you can have a look at all of your traffic over the last 28 days and see exactly where they came from. You'll probably find that at least 80%, possibly 95% of your audience comes from browse and suggested videos, as well as some other features. But if you look at YouTube search, specifically people who are searching for it, people who perhaps are coming from Google searches external, you can find that there as well, you will see that probably at most around 5% of your entire viewership for a video comes from search. Now, does that mean search isn't useful at all? No, search can be a great tool. I'll talk about that later at the end. But what I'm saying here is if 85 to 90% to 95% of your views come from browse, then why on earth would you optimize your video for search? That doesn't make any sense, and even more so now. Now, actually, I need to get to the end part first, because you might say, well, what actually happens, Jay, if you pay attention, is that people find me through search, that gets me some views, YouTube figures out what my video is from that search intent and then shows me on browse. And that would be perfectly accurate in 2023. However, now YouTube can in real time read the entire transcript of your video, the entire description. Its AI can figure out exactly what's going on in the thumbnail. So even without your title, even without your thumbnail, frankly, it has the full context of what your video is about and can rank it in search. The only thing a title keyword or a thumbnail keyword, for example, will do in search is if you and another creator are at an absolute stalemate with each other, you will rise above him. But that's basically never going to happen. So instead, you should focus on browse, where you'll get 80% of your views. And if your video on a topic that someone searches for has 100,000 views with everyone loving it, and the other person has great search keyword but has 500 views, which video do you think YouTube's going to more confidently show them in that search result? Yeah, it's not going to be theirs. So focusing on browse is the most important thing. So the reason I bring this up is I still see a lot of creators, for example, going and stuffing keywords into their title. Now, adding keywords to your title doesn't need to be dead. You don't need to get rid of it. And if you can work it in a way that will help search and browse, you should absolutely do it. But what I'm saying here is if you stuff in a keyword that just doesn't really add anything except YouTube search, you're hurting browse for no upside anymore. You're not going to help your search traffic anymore, and you're directly hurting your browse. So let's just say, for an example, the UFO files are coming out right now, and I was doing a video on the UFO files, right? If I wanted to do it the old way and look at search and SEO, I might put my title down as something like Trump discloses new UFO files that tell us everything about UFO and here's what it means, right? That is a great title for search back in the day, but it's an atrocious browse title because if I read that, I don't care. That reads to me like a Wikipedia title, an article title, and I'll just go search and read it somewhere instead. Whereas if I see a title that's like, the craziest thing in the new UFO files, which is an absolutely terrible title, but you get my point. Something that hooks attention. Can't think off the top of my head. Should have planned this first, but it doesn't matter. My point is, if you are to do a video which in the video itself goes through all of the UFO disclosure files in detail, explains them properly, gives a lot of value, but then title it with a very SEO kind of reach, you're not going to get search or browse because browse people are going to find that boring. They're not going to feel any urgency about clicking it. And then they go to search. And because no one cares about you on browse, YouTube isn't confident about your video, so it doesn't show you in search either. Whereas if you title your video with the psychological trap for browse, then those people in search are essentially going to find you because YouTube has more data on you, more people have watched it, there's more comments, there's more feedback. YouTube knows now exactly what your video is about. It has more confidence about you, and you get pushed up in search. So it's a win-win. So I hope that makes sense. What I'm trying to say is just please have keywords as the last thing you worry about in your title. Think about the psychology of your title first, keywords second. That is the most important thing I can say. Hope it makes sense. Check out VidStew at vidstew.com. I'll see you for the next one.